Yeah. Do you want to leave the table? That'd be great. All right. We're public. Live streamed, or we just go? Thank you. No mai haere mai, ki tēnei hui. Welcome to this briefing on the Cuba neighbourhood plan. I read on the screen ahead of me. Over to you, Vida, to introduce the team and go through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. Today's briefing is looking at the Cuba Street neighbourhood plan. Over the years, there's been quite a number of different sort of individual ideas, proposals, and projects progressed to varying degrees on Cuba Street. And through the direction you gave as governors of the city through the LTP process, you created this opportunity for us to step back, to look more holistically at the neighbourhood, to start from scratch, to start without a defined project, to start with urban analysis, to start with a vision, and look at the constraints and opportunities for those who live, work, and use the area every day. The process being ran here is urban regeneration best practice, and personally I'm really enjoying moving back into this area, which is where I've spent most of my professional career so far. So I'm really excited by the work that the team's going to be presenting to you today. Cuba Street is part of the program of the Central City Upgrades, and it's what we're focusing on today. The Central City Upgrades focuses on placemaking and network integration and is being led by Claire in my business unit. I'm about to pass over to the team to update you on the work to date, but just before that, I just wanted to acknowledge Jonas, who can't be here today, unfortunately, who is the project manager on this project. But fortunately, Adam has been able to step in, who leads our urban regeneration team, and will be presenting with Clara from the Economic Wellbeing and City Revitalisation team. So I'll hand over to you.
Great, thank you, Vida. Kia ora. I'm happy to be at this table to chat with you about our neighborhood plan process and give an update on the progressing work around the Cuba neighborhood plan. My name is Adam Perkins, and I lead our urban regeneration and design teams in city design. And I'm still relatively new here at Council. I've enjoyed getting to work with you all over the past year and getting to know some of you and serving this council. And this is now my second winter here, so I think it's fair to say that I know the magic of this great place. This work has been a cross-council approach, and I'm joined here with my colleague, Clara Breitenmoser of the Economic Wellbeing team, as this is rooted in the well-being of Wellington, its people, and its businesses. And before we get into the Cuba neighborhood, I first wanted to quickly walk through an overview of this work around neighborhood planning and where it fits in with the larger work here at Council. So at the beginning of everything here, everything starts with a vision. Ponakia Creative Capital, where people and nature thrive. It sits above all of the work. Underneath that are our strategic directives. A lot of strategies, plans, policies that clarify what we're seeking to achieve at a broad and high level. These guide our work programs, and they direct our thinking. And underneath that, the next layer down is putting those strategies into context or in a specific place that can lead to specific projects. So in our spatial plan specifically, highlights the Central City as an area to undertake what we call place-based planning. And through identifying a range of distinct neighborhoods and through collaboration with local communities, these place-based plans help us to better understand the values and the key principles that are important for an area that can help guide future growth. As the Central City is a significant area of growth, this effort is connected to our urban regeneration work and our economic well-being strategy that also highlights a precinct-based approach through collaboration with our local businesses in the Central City. And reflecting on the Central City as our focus, we're calling our place-based plans neighborhood plans because while the Central City is often associated with a central business district or a collection of high-rise office buildings, the area is so much more to that. We have a large and growing inner-city resident population, and today approximately 20,000 people, or really 10% of Wellingtonians, call the Central City their home. And so the neighborhood plan process seeks to support this market demand through place-based planning, and is the evolution of the Central City into a collection of unique inner-city neighborhoods where residents, civic life, hospitality, and businesses can thrive. So, and then this place-based process, what it's doing is it's grounding the citywide strategies into a specific place. And so it's a tool that identifies how we can deliver on our broad and very high-level strategies by connecting them with reality on the ground. It's also how meaningful change at the local level comes together to integrate and realize our bigger strategies. And every neighborhood is rich and unique in identity with different strengths, aspirations, and opportunities. And what success looks like in terms of our strategic objectives is likely to be very different in each place. And so it could be an investment, it could be a partnership, it could be tweaks to the everyday things we do, or just making sure we look after and retain what is already great. Most likely each neighborhood will have a range of different focus areas. And so what does this look like in practice? Like I mentioned, we already have the beautiful collection of strategies, policies, and plans giving direction from the top. And with those strategies as a framework, the work starts by listening at both the local level and the level of the general public. We talk with local communities to understand their local issues, their aspirations, opportunities that they see for their neighborhood. This means businesses, residents, stakeholders, institutions, and of course, our Montefenua partners. We take all this information and combine it and to create a unique plan for each neighborhood that simply and clearly answers the questions: what makes this place special? What is holding the area back? And what would make the area better for its people, its businesses, and its function within the city? And the key part of this plan is the creation of guiding PO that are unique to each neighborhood that serve as a guide into the future. It's through articulating a desired direction of place that we uncover opportunities and actions for the future. It's important to be clear that the purpose of neighborhood plans is to identify potential opportunities. They don't make decisions on what will happen or even who will action them. Instead, they highlight a way of thinking to guide future investment. Ultimately, the action rests with councilors, with local communities, with local businesses, and with Montefenua. And it's done through future championing, decision-making, investment choices, and every activities from all of the above. We're creating a recipe of what success might look like for an area. And like any great recipe, it has lots of ingredients that might not all come from the same store. But with the right goals in mind or the right strategic PO, the ultimate dish may skip some ingredients or may add some new ones, and that's okay, as that's what these guiding PO is for, to guide the implementation into the future. And so here's what the process looks like in a linear format, acknowledging that the iterative nature of collaboration with communities towards a draft plan. And the draft plan, when we get to that point, is a key opportunity for formal consultation to get a wider view of perspectives and consideration for councilors to review. And once adopted, the plan is a signal to both the market and to council on where to prioritize future efforts. So before we jump into Cuba Street specifically, we thought we'd take a moment for some questions on that neighborhood planning process and what that is. You know, acknowledging that sometimes it's easy to see it with more of an example as we go through, but definitely want to take the time now to have a discussion.
Councillor Calvert.
So what about all the other plans that we've got, you know, like Adelaide Road and CBD back in 2011 and Johnsonville, and we haven't really made much progress on those. So why this, and what is happening with that other work?
So I guess to that question, yes, those are also plans, and this neighbourhood planning process is also a part of that. One of the focuses that we've got in the process, which Adam and his team is running, is looking at what other projects are happening, both from Wellington Water or from Wakakotahi or other partners, and looking at those areas of growth and where we can accelerate that. But it's also a key tool for that collaboration. So the ideal plan we come out of is that actually council's not necessarily leading or investing in it, but it's the local community that's come together, understand that joint vision and can do a lot of that investment themselves on their own sites. So we're facilitating processes for communities that want to work and try and enhance their neighbourhoods, and where we see it as well, where we've got investment coming. So this one's particularly because we have had a direction through the LTP that Cuba Street is an area of priority where you want us to look at how we regenerate the area.
Councillor Pannett.
Thanks, that all sounds great. Obviously it's very high level, so I just presume there's a few issues I want to ask about. You're talking about a neighbourhood, so reverse sensitivity will be looked at. Yes, we do want lots of activity, but if people are going to sleep there, we just need to, think about that. I know I love the retailers along there. It's our best street. A lot of them are struggling, so presumably that will be a very big focus to do everything we can to make sure that they survive. And also, what thinking or analysis will you do around the contribution of heritage, both European and Māori, to the area?
That's a very good question, and it definitely performs a very large function of the context of the neighborhood, what starts to make it special. So right now we're at the point of listening to the community, what they're gravitating to, and so that has definitely come up as what is part of what has made the place great. And so we're at this point are not opining on anything on that in the future. It's just gathering that information and go, what are the areas that make this place what it is? And so that's a conversation that can lead to future guiding PO, whether it is focusing on how we can highlight those histories or how we can tell stories of the heroes of the neighborhood. That could be lead to specific things like into the future, like using lighting for the buildings and things like that, or ways we can upgrade maintenance on that. But at this point, we're not to that stage yet. Right now, it's just talking about hearing and listening to what is special and talking about that and kind of clarifying what those values are of the place.
I see we've got a question from Councillor Chung. I think after that it might be quite good to move on. I think it would be good to get some more content. Councillor.
Thanks very much, Adam. When you looked at the revitalisation of this area, are you also considering that what can we actually do if there's rough sleepers around there? I haven't noticed as many there as in Manor Street or Willow Street, but is that part of the plan that we're actually trying to look at that as well? Yeah.
We are working very closely with the City Safety and Wellbeing Plan, and everything we hear throughout these engagements, which I'll speak to in a moment, we are sharing with the wider council officers and council teams working in this area, including the safety team.
Okay, do you think that there's any correlation between, and I'll keep wondering this myself, is there a correlation between rough sleepers and the number of people in those areas? Like, if you have more people in those areas, right, if you revitalise it, are there likely to be fewer there because they don't stay there, or is there no correlation at all?
I think it's safe to say we're a very concentrated city, and that can show up in various ways, but I wouldn't have the data on whether more people equals more rough sleepers.
So now let's jump into the Cuba neighborhood specifically. And we want, before we go into what we're hearing a little bit, spend some time talking about the context of what we mean by Cuba neighborhood and what's going on in the area, and answer the question on why Cuba. And so why have we made Cuba area a focus? It's clear that the area centered around Cuba Street is a well-loved part of our city. And there's ongoing investment and councillor interest in the areas, as evidenced by the LTP, and recently a petition to improve the A.O. Smith Street intersection. And neighborhood planning ensures that any planned investment and activities are grounded in a clear understanding of local issues and opportunities. And the process is supported by clarifying the values of an area for a more focused investment to support and realize the shared values of the area. It's kind of like value engineering in a way before you even have to go to the price. Like, what are those really values, and focusing there first. And so we want to kind of move our context beyond the street itself and think of this area as a whole neighborhood, because the place is more than a street. It's a neighborhood people call their home. It's a place people go to study. It's a broad range of industries and businesses. It's a cultural heart for Mount Whenua, and it's all this and much more. And it's how all those things come together to grow and to thrive. In the population, over the past 30 years, this area has seen an average annual growth in population of about 4% compared to 1% citywide. And this neighborhood, along with other neighborhoods in the central city, are evolving into more complete neighborhoods with a diversity and range of offerings. The area is highly significant area for Mount Whenua. It's a key area of cultivation along the Waimapihiawa, and it's a part of the Te Arapa. Looking at the pedestrian movements, the white text on this chart shows pedestrian traffic on a typical midweek day, on a single day, and then the green text shows the typical day on a weekend day. The Cuba Street Mall itself, the pedestrian flows range from about 7,000 to 6,000, to 7,000 to 16,000 on a typical weekday, and reach nearly 25,000 people per day on a weekend. In the area, there's about 700 on-street car parks servicing the area, and about 2,000 off-street car parks in the vicinity. And the neighborhood has a rich collection of heritage buildings, as we mentioned earlier. This heritage area provides a human-scaled and much-loved village-like atmosphere in the heart of the central city. And so now it's time to hand over to Clara, who's going to speak to our engagement process and some of the insights we've gathered so far.
Kia ora. So economic wellbeing, myself and Prak, our Central City Manager, have been working very closely with the city design team to take this relationship-based approach with businesses and stakeholders to build that trust and buy-in. As mentioned, this project moves beyond project-specific engagement to build a rich understanding of the identity and aspirations through collaboration, because we know that success of our central city relies on partnership, investment and shared vision. We need to all be on the same waka to deliver through public and private investment at both tactical and transformational levels. So it's not just about what council delivers, but what we can collectively achieve to support these rounded inner city neighbourhoods. We've based this approach off the Courtney Place Precinct Plan, another priority area for council, where we've seen success with its changing relationship with the area and businesses delivering initiatives in partnership, including the Courtney Carnival New Year's Eve Festival, which is business-led. And the seeds of success have been well sown in Cuba. We've had positive feedback throughout our engagement, and we're really excited about the rich data we're able to gather. We started the year with the Cuba Summer Series, bringing 3 events into Cuba Street, with a street opening between Vivian and Gusney Street. A number of artists were involved. Businesses reported increased turnover and foot traffic throughout. And these were really great events. They gave us an opportunity to test different uses of public space and begin the conversation we're having around Cuba. Directly following this, we ran a public survey online to gather feedback about what makes Cuba Street special to the area and what would make it an even better place. We had a really high interest in the survey. We had over 800 responses, and this was the start of our understanding of how much people love Cuba Street and how they wish to share that love with us. We start to see some themes coming through here about how people describe Cuba Street and that word cloud there. And what they'd like to see. Interestingly, 45% of participants of the survey said that they'd come for the general street vibe. That was what attracted them to the area, and I can't think of many streets that have that draw. You can see the full results are available on our website as well from that. Like in Courtney Place, we've taken a really targeted engagement approach with those most closely tied to the area and who want to play a role in its success. Each session we ran was designed specifically for the stakeholder group so that they were able to fully participate and share their priorities. As mentioned, our engagement has been centred on the street, as the success of the neighbourhood depends on it and the energy that emanates out to the surrounding area, but we have been capturing views on the wider neighbourhood. And overall, we've gathered over 900 post-it notes, I counted them myself, and had many rich conversations. We went out on foot and invited over 150 businesses on Cuba Street to attend workshops and had 32 join us over 3 different workshops, including a really good spread of businesses from the top to the bottom of the street and those who have just started their business to those who have been there for over 40 years. We had 35 residents join us on a cold winter's night who live in the neighbourhood, many of whom are apartment dwellers. They joined us for this drop-in session that was supported by Inner City Wellington Resident Association. We also held a drop-in session at Victoria University at the Te Aro campus, and over 60 students stopped by to tell us what they thought. And then we've held individual sessions with some really key organisations for the area who are really invested, including Greater Wellington, Capital Creative Arts Trust, Takatapui Rainbow Advisory Group, and staff at Victoria University. And when you add this with the 867 public responses we've heard from over 1,000 people throughout this. We've had really supportive feedback on this style of engagement, and we had one business who has run their business on Cuba Street for 30 years saying it was the best business engagement has ever been. Mana whenua engagement is incredibly important in this area as a site of significance, and we're working with Mataho Aranui on that engagement plan so that we can ensure we hear their perspective on this specific area, but also how we have that more general and genuine partnership throughout the wider neighbourhood plan process. So that's still an ongoing conversation. So I'm sure you're all eager to know what we've heard so far. Throughout all the conversations we've had, it's really clear that this neighbourhood is magnetic. People are really drawn to it. It's special because it feels like it's a place for people. Its vibe is funky and authentic. There's always something to see and do, and it really sits at the centre of it all. And from these, we're starting to see 5 guiding po emerge about what the community want to maintain and enhance in the future. Our first guiding po is a showcase for talent. Cuba thrives on creativity and energy. It's a place where you can always see, hear, taste, experience something new, interesting, or even just new to you. It's a home of performance, not during big events like Cuba Duper, but throughout the year with iconic venues, buskers, pop-ups, art, all woven throughout the neighbourhood. The challenge is how do we maintain and elevate this energy so it's even more visible and the neighbourhood feels alive. Our next po is fertile ground. For creativity and enterprise to bloom, Cuba must have the right conditions for this to grow. Cuba Street has represented opportunity and provided pathways for businesses and creatives over the years looking to establish themselves with historically affordable rent and places to learn and hone their craft. As the economic and physical environment changes, we must look at how we can collectively support new talent, independent enterprise, and a local population so we retain this heart into the future. Manaakitanga. Cuba welcomes and attracts difference. People of all ages, backgrounds, identities spend time here, and that's reflected in the diversity of what's on offer. But this area isn't without its challenges, we all know, particularly when it comes to maintenance and those doing it tough. Stakeholders really want to see the basics done well, this idea that you make your bed in the morning because it shows care for yourself and that care emanates out. So how do we look after people in place with a distinctly Cuba spirit, a Cuba response to issues faced, and ensuring everyone has the support they need? A neighbourhood for wandering. This is a walkable and welcoming neighbourhood. People come here to stroll, linger, explore, soak up the atmosphere, and it's also home to many apartment dwellers who see this as their backyard. And there's been a lot of interest in how we can make it an even more attractive place to wander, spend time and enjoy through public space, laneways, increased accessibility, pedestrian connections and crossings, greenery, and layered ways to engage with the physical environment. And finally, let's celebrate our stories. This area is layered with history from a site of significance for mana whenua, and it's continued to be really important to our city through waves of protest, migration, performance, rainbow rights, even as the first pedestrianised mall in Aotearoa. But it's not always clear what makes it so special when you first land on the street, or even if you are on our street. So how do we make sure those stories are visible to those spending time in the area, honouring all those who have a key connection to this space and celebrating Cuba's role in our city and community? Throughout, we've also been hearing what stakeholders believe the opportunities are in the neighbourhood. And these opportunities will be developed and represented within a draft plan for future decision making. However, part of this holistic approach means identifying where quick wins can be achieved in partnership and how we can ensure council's everyday efforts in the area are aligned to the aspirations we've heard. We've already taken some actions in the area, or council's been active in the area over the last few months. In May, the playground was renewed in partnership with mana whenua. In June, directly following our business workshops, we organised a community clean-up, inviting businesses and residents to join us to give the street some TLC in response to some of the feedback we received. And in July, the first safety points were rolled out under the City Safety and Wellbeing Plan, including one in Cuba Mall, and people who raised safety concerns were really heartened to see these underway. We're proposing a second summer series this summer coming, and we'll be bringing 3 road closure requests to the Regs Committee later this month. Last year's series was received well, and businesses and stakeholders saw this as an incentive for people to visit Cuba Street. And in the spirit of this being a testing ground, we've adjusted the program based off the business feedback that we've had throughout and the data collected. These events will also provide us the opportunity to engage with the members of the public and businesses further on the Cuba Neighbourhood Plan. The LTP directs us to investigate property acquisition to support the revitalisation of Cuba Street, and we're currently looking and working through what properties would best support this. We've started some early conversations with key landowners to understand their plans to help inform this as well. We know Abel Smith is an intersection of concern. We received the petition with over 500 responses earlier this year, and this particularly came up in our resident session as well. We've been analysing the safety issues and the best potential solutions. The safety study showed that there are a significant number of pedestrians using this, and cars are going at really low speeds, which can explain the low crash rate, but it's clearly really confusing, and there are ways to make this more comfortable for pedestrians and drivers alike. We'll be providing updates on this in the new year, but it's likely to form one of those early opportunities for the neighbourhood. And before we wrap up, we'll just do remind us where we're at and what you can expect in the next coming months. We've completed our initial engagement phase for the Cuba Neighbourhood Plan. We'll be continuing to test these draft aspirations, which we have been evolving as we've been going through our conversations, and we'll continue to do that with stakeholders as we go, including this really important conversation with Mana Whenua. And then we'll work on completing the draft plan for October 2025, finalising these themes and drafting that set of opportunities for the neighbourhood. In November, we will consult with the general public whether the vision, themes and opportunities reflected in this draft plan feel right to ensure that all Wellingtonians get their say. That draft plan will then be updated to reflect that final input, and this will be presented to councillors for adoption in early 2026. And if adopted, the Cuba Neighbourhood Plan will be that guiding document to assess future decisions for the area. Thank you, and we're very happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. We do have some. The first from Councillor Young.
So I've got a list, so can I ask a couple and then come back? Okay, so the first one is just thinking about Left Bank, which has that sort of grotty, slightly threatening feeling about it, but I know it's one of the problems is owned by individuals. Is there anything we can do about that? And at the same time, hooked into that, is there any progress on punching through to Victoria Street?
I can speak to the first part of that question. We've been engaging with the property manager for the Wellington Company, one of the key owners in that Left Bank area, and we've been having really good conversations about what's possible, and this plan is all about that, looking at those options. So we're continuing to think through what that specifically means.
Conversations with them in the past and they've got nowhere. And then about the idea of punching through so that there's pedestrian access to Victoria Street?
I mean, those are all of those opportunities, which is that sort of next stage of the plan and looking at it. But it has been named multiple times as something that's really important.
Okay, then and just one more. So the old Mayfair brothel, on the corner of Glover Park. I'm speaking by its reputation, not by personal visits, because why would I go to a brothel? Because I'm a city councillor.
Much information officially, Councillor.
So I mean, that building's been under renovation and strengthening for years. What is happening to it? It looks like it's making a little bit of progress at the moment, but...
I don't have an update on that, but we can find out.
Thank you. Can I go back on the list?
You can. Councillor Calvert.
Will you be able to provide us with what sort of budget you're working towards at the moment? How are you funding this piece of work? And also what budget you think you're going to need or already have? Because I haven't seen anything to do with costs in here.
So through the LTP process, there was 3.8 million assigned to this as part of those central city upgrades projects. And so that's what we're working with at the moment. That is looking also to deliver changes. So at the moment, we're just working with getting the pre-work done.
So you've got $3.8 million. Which year is that? Year 2? So this is current year?
Yes.
And so what's that being spent on?
So at the moment, there's no decisions on what it's getting spent on. That's what this work is determining. It's likely that funding will need to move to year 3 because of this kind of groundwork that's happening. But when we come for adoption of the plan next year, there may be another paper that goes with it or soon after that also puts forward some recommendations for what to spend that 3.8 on, but that will effectively be your decision next year.
And have you got a draft drawing of where you're intending to move the car parks and put any other transport routes through?
No, we've just done the base analysis at the moment, the context analysis. There's no decisions around what those projects are being, as Claire said, that's what we'll come back with in the new year.
Okay. And just my final question is, I didn't really see the businesses really represented. I know you've engaged with them, but what I'm hearing, I'm not hearing a lot about, okay, what is the economic uplift that this could potentially do? And how you're going to do it, because that's all part of the cost benefit as well. And how do you use, what's the value of commercial rates being paid on this route, and how that's being allocated. So I really would like to see a bit more about the economic side of things, and I really like to see about the costs, even the costs of doing this piece of work.
The businesses that we spoke to, they really care about this neighbourhood, and they did have a very broad range of themes and things that they were interested in. And so it is, those things, particularly that fertile ground, was of incredibly importance to them, and then the care and the maintenance of the area.
But we want to see what the value uplift is and all of that, yeah.
Councillor Chung.
Thanks very much. Great summary, thanks. I have 2 questions. The first question is similar, is that you engaged with 150 businesses, but only 32 came to a seminar. Is that because these businesses aren't the owners of those properties, and so therefore the property owners they have a vision of what they actually would like to see changed around that area or done in that area? So is that why the businesses themselves aren't engaged?
That's right. A lot of those businesses rent on Cuba Street rather than own their buildings. But I couldn't speak to whether that was the reason that they didn't engage. We went out and we spoke with people, dropped off things, sent out emails to invite them, and we've been having kind of individual conversations with those who are keen to engage but haven't been able to make the sessions.
Okay, great, thanks. And the second question is, you mentioned in here somewhere about property acquisitions, and the words were jammed together, so I couldn't quite read what they were. But are you saying that, or did that say that we would look at property acquisitions in that area, or what?
Yeah, that was through the LTP. That was one of the directions we got given by you to go and look at property acquisition opportunities in the area.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor Pennant.
I've got a few more, so if I could be put back on the list. The park, it has been a long-standing next to Floriditas. Is that going to be looked at? We have got to get that car park off. Is it the Uttings still own it?
So we're looking at a broad range of those property opportunities.
Can we make that a priority?
That's up to whoever is sitting on council and makes those decisions.
Well, that's right, it won't be me, but it was good that you made improvements to the playground, but I'm just wondering if you've thought, or in the plan, is there thinking about what else we can do for children in the area?
Yes, we're definitely looking at all those opportunities in the plan.
Okay, and just my last question for now is around transport. So you know that it was actually the trams that went through that gave the area its economic boost in the early 20th century. I'm just wondering.
I've been on council a long time.
Definitely didn't partake in that, but it was absolutely brilliant. Have you thought about doing more traffic calming? Because it's just difficult because it's bisected by Vivian and Ghuznee.
Yeah, I mean, those are all part of those options, and part of that Central City Upgrades program is looking more at those network impacts across the whole Central City with the different projects.
Councillor Free.
Hi, hey, thanks. My question was really just, will it be the new council that approves the plan to go out for consultation?
So we're not proposing that you approve it to go out for consultation, but that you will go out for consultation, then the plan will be brought back for adoption by councillors.
If I could just make a comment, I think, you might find a new council would appreciate the opportunity to know what's going out for consultation if they're going to be responding to what the feedback is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We will definitely be briefing before we go out for consultation. That's why it's sitting at the later half of this year. And,
Okay,
and there
all
will
right.
always be the option that if the council wants to approve it before going for consultation, we're always open for that as well, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Finn.
Through this work, have we got an opportunity to engage with building owners, just particularly at the southern end of Cuba Street? There's a lot of buildings that have been left empty for a while, not strengthened, degrading. So just kind of working on that as an opportunity.
Yes, we are looking at that and looking at all the different ways that council engage with building owners as well, through things like our strengthening funds. I'm sorry, I'm not sure of the exact title, and so we are looking at opportunities, and we also have some tactical projects that could be ways that we engage with them, such as our Pops Are Positive program that we've run with building owners in other parts of the city.
And I think I just wanted to add to that, like, building owners are absolutely one of the really essential key stakeholders in this, because as Adam was talking about, this neighbourhood planning, it's not just about what we're investing in. We're trying to work with the building owners and the owners and businesses and everybody in this area so that it's a combined effort in this urban regeneration. That's where it actually works. If it's not just one party contributing to it, it's working together to revitalise areas.
And just one more question around the types of business, and I know this is tricky, but one situation up there is that I know a storefront's been vacant for over 20 years, and then finally a vape shop popped up after I know many people were keen to get that site to do business in. So it's just, how do we maybe just take those considerations going forward as well about what types of business? I know we can't control that, but yeah, just thinking about that as a possible option as well. Thank you.
Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, this is really fantastic work. It's great to see us sort of go back to the essentials. I was wondering, in your sort of engagements, there's kind of the PO that have come out of there in terms of the thematics for the Cuba precinct. I was wondering if there was sort of anything that came out of conversations in terms of what people really felt in terms of the urban environment set parts of Cuba Street apart from the rest of the city, and whether there were parts of it that they wanted to see extended throughout the entirety of Cuba Street or anything like that.
Yeah, there was definitely a range of conversations around kind of what parts work well and which parts different are improvements. And so I think it's maybe not as simple as, this versus that. It's more on like, this is the area that you can always find to see something. This is where buskers are working really well. This is an area where buskers aren't working really well, and understanding those pieces. And so it's really the complexity of that information that say, well, what matters here? And I think what the PO is really doing is saying, well, what matters here is, how is this a place for wandering? So what does that mean to wander through it? How is this a place that you can showcase for talent to have those busker experience? What does it mean to make it a place where you can start a business, the fertile ground for the history? And so those are the things that are coming up that matter the most. And then you can look at the urban design things to how that those pieces can start to realize that. But really, it was all those different comments is really finding that bit of alignment on like what that value is to help make those kind of decisions.
Cool. Thank you.
Councillor Randall.
Thank you. You said in the analysis that there are nearly 2,000 off-street car parks. Is the number of casual car parks that are off-street? or is it the total number of car parks?
Do you mean publicly accessible
Publicly
when you
accessible
mean
casual car
Yeah, so
parks.
publicly accessible, that's the 2,000 publicly accessible off-street and in the area.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it doesn't count the booked ones, that permanent
Not the
parking.
one, the private ones and... Oh, it does? It includes the ones that are private as well? Okay,
We can
sorry.
confirm that.
Okay.
It's a Jonas stat.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, because the number of publicly available off-street car parks is probably more useful. Okay, yeah, okay. So I didn't.
We will double, triple check it, but it does say publicly available.
Sure.
Phew.
Do you have information about where the pedestrians, there's a very high number, where these pedestrians are coming from and how do they get there?
So this data here you're seeing on the screen is from a 2021 actually human count, people counting the people in the area. And so you're kind of seeing a bit of the flows that are happening. And so you can start to maybe infer people are walking to work, down Manners and Dixon. We've just recently installed some more cameras to be able to get more in-depth data on how those movements are happening. It took a little bit longer to get those in place, but that should get more richness in data of what you're talking about, of really understanding where that movement is happening. And then we plan to do more analysis like this to dive deeper into those numbers.
Yeah, I was more interested to say how many of these people are actually local, accessible people in terms of versus people who have come in to work or have come in from some distance away. Such as my ward in Johnsonville, north to Tawa.
When we ran our public survey online in April, we did ask, one of the questions was how people got to the area. We didn't ask where they started when they were putting that together, but I'll find that information for you in this survey and share it with you. It's on it's on our website.
Thank you. I know I haven't read the full engagement report yet. And lastly, what is, in terms of the significance policy, what's the significance of this project?
We've been working with the City Revitalisation Engagement Team, and it is, believe it's low on the significance engagement, but we know this is a really special part of the city, so we want to make sure as many people have a chance to have their say as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Back to Councillor Young. No questions about brothels, though.
Or information.
No, take offline, definitely.
Right. So just going back to a couple of things. First of all, Councillor Calvert asked about the business, whatever you call it, consultation. So you interviewed with respect to 32 businesses, which I would have thought was quite a small number for the street. Did that include Elmer's, the lawnmower people? Because I know they're very concerned about changes, because I can tell you moving a lawnmower into there is not easy. I've done it. So were they included, Elmer's?
They were invited, both in person and I believe in email, but they didn't attend. But any future decision will be out for TR or anything like that, so they'll have a chance. And we're always happy to talk to more people. If you would like to put us in touch, we're happy to go and have a conversation with them.
Thank you. Did you speak to any retail organisations?
Economic Wellbeing, Melissa and Anna meet regularly with retail
But
bodies.
specifically about possible developments?
So once we get to having more of a substantial plan, like this is just the initial feel and the initial information gathering stage. So once we've got that, we'll be taking that to those organisations.
Okay, thank you. And then just going back to the fact that Iona and I, once again, were in agreement about the fact this is, one of the most attractive streets actually in the country. But I'm just wondering, how many of the buildings are still earthquake prone?
We don't have that data, but we've got that data. We don't have it on us right now, but that was part of the background analysis that we'll do.
Okay, because I think we don't want to channel people into areas that might be suboptimal. Thank you.
And I think just in terms of the business as well, yes, there's the retail, but there's also in Cuba Street a really rich first, second, commercial businesses and lots of architects and all of those types of people. So there's a whole lot of different business needs that we're looking at across the area.
Councillor Pennant.
Thanks. Just following on from the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Young's questions about the building resilience. So We have sometimes made some attempts to think about getting building owners together to, address party walls and try to get some economies of scale on the strengthening. Obviously, we're waiting on the Pink review, but my question is, and it's sort of following on from Councillor Calvert too, will there be a real commitment to trying to find some cheaper ways of doing strengthening if people do decide to go ahead and they have to by legislation? So it's like getting cheaper traffic management or that sort of thing, or designs which could work across a few buildings.
Yeah, we'll have a chat to Phil.
I'd just, happy to answer that. I think it's probably best to wait what Pink Review spits out. I think, as far as I understand, the approach Wellington City Council's taken for Cuba Street is to all the URM facades have been already reinforced. I'm just looking.
No, they were secured, Liam. They weren't reinforced. They weren't strengthened. So that's
secured.
So that is the problem there. Okay.
I think we're talking about the same thing, but let's wait for the Pink Review to come out and make some recommendations.
And then just on climate resilience too, is there space in there to be thinking about, permeable surfaces and even rain roofs, that sort of things?
I think it is one of the things that's come through in the engagement to date is some greening of the area, and we have got some rain gardens which we've put in the Swan and Garrett, which are working really well. So it's one of the things that people have said that they really like, and we'll look at if there's opportunities to put some of those street trees in.
Councillor Chung.
Thanks very much again. I'm just wondering, I find that these numbers that you've actually given here are very impressive. But just for context, how does this compare with the rest of the city? Like, are these numbers a lot higher than, say, Lambda Key or Willow Street or something? And I guess that depends on the weekends and weekdays too.
We don't have those numbers in front of us, but we do have the Viva City centres in Lambton Key and now in Cuba Street, so we'll be able to do that comparison.
Yeah, just give me an idea of where all the people are.
Yeah, I think this is a high weekend number, and Lambton Key tends to have weekday high numbers.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
All right, that seems to have brought us to the end of the questions, so thank you. Vita, Clara, Adam, we much appreciate it. Kia ora.